Welcome back, everyone, to Double Take, an NFL podcast streaming everywhere you get podcasts and also on YouTube. My name is David Gonzalez, and I'm joined by my twin brother, Daniel. Daniel, how are you, man?
I'm doing good. I'm doing a lot better than Cowboys fans right now and also Eagles fans right now, and for a pretty good reason that we're about to get into.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I'm going to be interested to hear that take of why. Obviously, isn't a good day for us. Cowboys were beaten down by the Buffalo Bills 31-10, and it wasn't even close. It wasn't even a close contest. The offense couldn't come out of the gate. Defense was absolutely atrocious, especially the run defense. But Daniel, I'm going to start with you. What was your biggest takeaway from this game, and probably the biggest reason why we lost?
Well, the biggest reason why we lost is ultimately the defense. I think we've been saying for a couple weeks now, but they've just been overrated all year long. You know, they beat up against bad teams, but when they get with teams that are bigger, more physical than them, they lay down and they just take it.
Mm-hmm.
And I've been saying it for a couple weeks, and people always looked at me weird for saying it, but Micah Parsons is overrated. Micah Parsons is not that guy. He is not that guy. He is not Charles Haley. He is not Lawrence Taylor. And then he gets on his podcast and starts complaining like a little girl. So everyone's just waiting for the Cowboys to lose. Yeah. Duh, dummy. The Cowboys are the most polarizing team in the National Football League. Everyone thinks Cowboys fans are annoying. Of course they want you to lose. Were you born yesterday? That is part of playing for the Dallas Cowboys. Something that your quarterback has already figured out. You look at Dak Prescott. Dak Prescott's able to ride the wave of praise and good play. And when the media says stuff about him, most of the time he just rolls with it. That's part of playing for the Dallas Cowboys. But guess what, Micah? You in this defense, you're soft. You're soft. When people play physical with you, you get run over. Look at Arizona. Look at the 49ers. Look at the Eagles when they decided that they wanted to run the football.
Mm.
And then you look at last Sunday. And now you're going against Miami, one of the most creative running attacks in the National Football League. You don't think they're going to take advantage of that? I know that they have Tyreek. I know that they got Tua. But if they know that they can run the ball against you, they will. Mike McDaniels, before he was in Miami, was a running game coordinator in San Francisco. He knows how to run the football.
Mm-hmm.
And so for me, it's been this defense. Now, did Dak and the offense look any better? No, they didn't. But guess what? When you lose Zach Martin at the right guard position, it looked like the guy that they played behind them was just a turnstile.
Yeah.
Dak was under duress all game long. And the Bills, they've been playing pretty good defense in the secondary. I mean, they were just blanketing CeeDee Lamb the entire game.
Yeah.
And so for me, I can't really put this on the offense because we ran the ball and we ran the ball pretty well, I would say.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
But because the defense was letting them score almost every possession, that forces you to pass and abandon the run. And they could not pass block on Sunday. So for me, if the defense played pretty well, kept them in the game, and Dak still doesn't figure out a way, then I can be like, yeah, that was pretty bad. But the fact of the matter is, Zach Martin went down on the offensive line. Then the whole offensive line went to crap. But Micah Parsons and this defense let us down again. And again, Micah Parsons refuses to show up in big games when it matters the most. So for me, that is my takeaway from Sunday is if you got a good team that can run the football, you're going to have a field day against the Dallas Cowboys.
Wow. That's definitely going on TikTok, that Micah Parsons take, because It's really hard to disagree with that. I can think I'm just gonna focus on defense because I think Mike Parsons, he has to put himself in the games in those moments. He's a talented guy. He's the only guy other than Reggie White to have 12, at least 12 sacks in his first 3 seasons in the league. So obviously he's a special talent. But I think when you're talking about in the biggest games, in the biggest moments, do you make yourself a factor? I think the biggest thing about Michael Parsons, and I know I said I wasn't talk to you, but I'll just say this one thing. The biggest thing with Michael Parsons is that we always talk about his ability to just dominate the offensive line, to make plays, to enforce his will on a football team. The unfortunate thing is that with the position that he's playing and where he's lined up on the field, you can run the ball away from him or you can run it to him and put 3 guys on him. And he's really ineffective where he's at on the field in the ground game. Um, and Josh Allen and the receivers didn't have to do a lot. I think Josh Allen only had like 13 passes, or maybe a little bit more than that, but I don't even think he got to 20 passes in this game. Uh, they just ran the ball down the Cowboys' throats, and to me, that's the biggest reason why we lost this game. Um, I'm really frustrated with the fact that people will use this game to be like you've watched how this played the stretch of these 7 games minus this one and say, "Oh, the real Dak Prescott has, you know, he's shown up now," especially with the way the game unfolded. Um, I felt like the offense was very conservative in their play calling, especially in the second half. I mean, we're doing tight end screen. I love Jake Ferguson. Um, but you're running tight end screens and then you're dumping the ball off to Dottle, like, or to Tony Pollard, and that's kind of your offense. And then on third down and long, you're like, all right, Dak, save us, do something special. And even Greg Olson on the broadcast, he said Dak is going through his entire progression and no one is open. So what do you expect Dak Prescott to do, especially when you have Terrence Steele and Bass on your right side allowing you to get sacked? Like, so for me, I don't did the did Dak Prescott play well? No. Is Dak Prescott still the MVP frontrunner? No. But to say that this game is all on him and that he lost us this game, to me, you didn't watch the game because I saw a defense give up 256 yards on the ground out of Buffalo's 4 of possession. You also saw a defense 3 different times to where penalties, unnecessary roughness penalties, led to drives being extended and points being scored. Because let's break this down. On the very first drive of the game, it's third down, I think like 5 on
Yeah,
the
third
8
down
yard
and
line.
6.
On the 8 yard line, Josh Allen is right, throws the ball, no one is open. All right, going to be a field goal. No, because DeMarcus Lawrence roughs the passer, and I think we could like, and I've had people say like you're a biased Cowboys fan who can't see like good penalties or whatever. I'm gonna give it to Josh Allen. I mean, I think he did a great acting job, just a touch, but I also think that DeMarcus Lawrence really did hit him way after
It was
the
way after. Way
the
after.
pass was thrown. So that was a good call by the referees
I
because
agree.
DeMarcus Lawrence, you can't do that.
It's the rule. It's the
Mhm.
rule. The quarterback throws the ball, and if you have time to stop or to, whiff so that way you don't hit him, you're supposed to do that. And he threw that ball well before he hit him.
Mhm.
Well before he hit him. So for me, I texted you and Savage immediately. I was like, I
Mhm.
would fine him $1,000,000 for that because that was
Yeah.
stupid.
Yeah.
It was stupid, the fact that he got that penalty when you were about to leave the field, and then you just have
Mhm.
to why did you have to hit him at all? Like,
Yeah.
I get like, "Oh, like, this game is soft." You know the rules. At the end of the day,
Mhm.
You know the rules. You're not supposed to
Mhm,
hit him. You're not supposed to touch him after he gets rid of the ball, and you have an opportunity to stop. So for me, I thought it was a good call because
mhm.
you can't do that. That's the rule.
Yeah. So then that penalty leads to a touchdown drive. So instead of 3-0, it's now 7-0. Then you have I think it's the ensuing drive. After that, you have you stop them on 3rd and 5. Stephon Gilmore, great coverage on Diggs, and it's 4th down and 5. You punt the ball away, but no, it comes back because Sam Williams runs into the punter
Yeah,
because
for
he
no
he
reason.
does he does what is said that you're not supposed to do, which is jump in the air and try and bat the ball, but you're
You just
supposed
run
to
through
stay
it.
on the ground,
You run
put
through
your
it.
arms at an X and run through, but he didn't do that, runs into the punter. Punter did a really great acting job after the fact because I don't think Williams hit him that hard, but whatever. But he does hit him. It's another 15 yards, automatic first down. They go down the field and they score. Then you just had a big sack. It's, I think, 2nd down and 17. Josh Allen overthrows his receiver, and I think it was Curse. If I'm wrong, I'm sorry, but I think it was Curse.
Mhm.
Nails Gabe Davis or whoever the receiver
Yeah,
was,
leads with his head.
leads
Leads
with
with
his
his head.
head, hits him helmet to helmet. It's another unnecessary roughness and another 15 yards and another first down. And we lead, like, obviously to another score. So 21 points coming off of big defensive penalties because this is the most penalized team in the NFL. But you're talking about 21 points being put on the board because your defense makes a bonehead play. And it's honestly the ones that you expect to make those plays. I love DeMarcus Lawrence. DeMarcus Lawrence has had offsides penalties. He's done things throughout the season. As good as he is, he's had his moments, and he had another one there. Sam Williams always gets a face mask penalty. Javon Curse always getting these kinds of penalties, and they bit in the behind. And so when defense takes rushing yards, you have a defense that has 3 big penalties that leads to 21 points. You can't look at this offense and say, or you can't even look at Dak Prescott and be like, "You lost us the game. You did it again." I'm okay with you guys. I'm okay with people saying like, yeah, you probably can't be MVP after this. After this performance, after not being a factor in this game,
Yeah.
we can't give the MVP to you. I understand that, and I'm willing to admit that. But to just say after this game, just being like, oh, Dak hasn't played well all year long, or to say that, oh, see, this is the average quarterback that Dak Prescott is. This
Mhm.
is the real Dak Prescott. I don't know how you can say that. At least for this game, I'm with you. If Dak would have had a game to where he, like, like a divisional round against the San Francisco 49ers last year, the Cowboys defense hold the Bills to 19 points. And fine, you got me. But we score, at the end, was like a lot. You know, he's just in the ball, checking it down. I mean, they're really throw the defense out there. And they were able to clamps on, like you said, on all receivers, on Jake Ferguson, and really take away what Dak Prescott is really good at, and that's extending the field. But that's my takeaway from this game. It was disappointing, obviously, um, to watch, but this only happens on the road.
Mhm.
So Daniel, what do you have any explanation, any reason of why are the Cowboys struggling on the road?
I mean, part of me doesn't really understand it. I mean, and again, that's just because I've never played the game. So I don't know what goes into the effects of being away from home. Um, it's just something that for me, I just don't understand. But, I'm pulling up the Cowboys schedule and see like, hey, these losses that, they lose to Arizona
Mhm.
and they just run it down our throats. We go to the 49ers, they run it down our throats. We lose at Philly, and it was a close game. Dak played really well. The offense played really well. But at the end of the game, Jalen Hurts and the Eagles just seal it by running the football.
Mhm.
And so for me, it's just one of those. It's just one of. I mean, I don't know if Dave, if you caught up on what the sports stations or anyone has been saying
Mm-mm.
about this topic, but it's from what I've heard, it's because the Cowboys are a mentally weak team. They're just weak mentally, and they for some reason they just can't stop the run. When they're at home, they're 4th in the league in rushing. When they're away, they're 28th in rushing. That's too big of a gap for me to have any tangible, like, what's going on.
Mhm.
Jonathan Hankins has been a great stud defensive tackle in the run game. He didn't play. Mozzie Smith has looked like to be kind of a bust in his first year. Doesn't look really comfortable, doesn't look really good when he's out there. He had the sack, um, in the game, but that was pretty much all he did. So for me, I can't really give you an answer on why this team cannot perform on the road. Um, God forbid, it looks like, I mean, barring anything happening with the Eagles, it looks like we're gonna be the 5th seed,
Mhm.
and we're gonna have to go on the road. And it looks like from right now, what I can tell, Baker and the Buccaneers could be that last seed that we end up
Mhm.
playing, um, or that 4th seed that we play. Do I feel good about playing against Baker? I don't, not with this team. But, I can't really give you an answer to that on why.
Yeah, I think I'm willing to hear the argument of this team mentally is just not there on the I mean, because like 4th in the league in run defense at home, 20th in the league on defense or on run defense on the road. Like it has to be mental. It has to be lack of preparation. I don't know. Sometimes this team looks like that they can stop. And another argument that I've heard or is the Cowboys are front runners. If Dak gets the ball first and he goes down the field and he scores, the defense automatically knows to rush the passer, right? They know to go after him. That's what they do best, get after the quarterback. Well, if Josh Allen's only throwing the ball 13 times or less than 20 times a game and you're running the ball, you take away the Cowboys' greatest strength on defense and you also take away our biggest playmakers, Bland and Gilmore, and really causing turnovers and doing what they do best. And so I just think that for the Cowboys, they're not a team that can come from behind and win games, not because of the offense, because we obviously saw that when they played against Seattle, is Dak is capable to um, lead a team and keep them in the hunt and keep them in the fight. The defense has not shown signs that, well, other than Seattle, they can make one or two plays, but they've only done that one time this season. They're either blowing teams out or getting team or they're themselves are getting blown out defensively. Like Seattle was I think an anomaly for our defense and being able to make stops at critical moments. And so I really don't have an answer for this team defensively or maybe even this team on the offensive side.
Mhm.
But because of this game, Daniel, man, do you trust that this Cowboys team will be competitive in the playoffs, or have you oh, this team is one?
I think for me, I'm at a place, and this is why I'm having a better week than the Cowboys fans. It's because I've completely given up on this team. It's over. It's done. I will no longer feel good about the Cowboys' chances. I will no longer be tricked into believing in this team anymore. This team is done. This team will not go more than one and done. There's no chance. They've got no shot. So my expectations, if you thought I was negative before and cynical before,
Mm,
it's going to be worse now. I will no longer believe in this team until this team proves that it can. You know what it's going to take for me to believe in this team? They get to
mm,
the NFC Championship game and win it. That's what's going to get me to believe in this team. For me, this team has no shot. No shot at all. This offensive line is marginal at best. There's been times where it's played good, but it's never wowed me. So I don't
mhm,
trust them to protect Dak. But the biggest reason why I'm giving up on this team is because of that defense. The defense that is mentally weak, led by a weak leader in Micah Parsons. That for me, that's all I need.
mm.
All I need is this team who their best player on defense doesn't show up when it matters. So this team is not going anywhere. It's not going anywhere. So for me, I don't trust them at all.
Mm,
The trust is
mm.
completely gone and out the window for me. Cynical Daniel is back, and it's here to stay.
Yeah. Ah, I I can't ride with you on that one. I
It's fine.
understand
I've
it.
been dying on
I
this
I
hill
kn
alone for the past what? Since 2006, so I'm fine with it.
yeah, I mean, I can't disagree with you when it comes to the defense. I think the defense will be what I say is I'm less confident in the Cowboys coming off of this game, because even with our remaining schedule, Miami has a top 5 running offense. Detroit has the top 5 running offense.
Yeah.
So we're talking about 2 games to where here's the thing, I expect Dak and this offense to fix what went wrong in Buffalo. I think Buffalo, they played a different covers than the Cowboys were used to seeing. Um, I mean, it was a lot of zone defenses, a lot of tight packages, and like I said, I think Mike McCarthy went a little bit conservative in this football game, probably due to the weather in Buffalo. That's not going to happen in Miami. That's not going to happen in Detroit. And so I expect this offense to get back on track and to play well. But I don't trust this defense to stop Miami. I don't
Nope.
trust this defense to stop Detroit. And even when we look in the postseason, like you said, Tampa Bay, Baker Mayfield just came off of a game where he had the only and first ever perfect passer rating at Lambeau Field. So, I mean, but it's Green Bay, you know. I would like to think that our defense is better than these defense, um, but this team has shown against Arizona, who
Hmm?
is who they are, San Francisco, who loves to run the football. So let's just take San Francisco out. And here's why I say just take them out right now. Is because you have Arizona, you have Buffalo. Two teams who are not really known to run the football. Well, Arizona, not a good football team, and Buffalo, who's known to, and we've talked about on this show, does not have a ground game. And you
Mhm.
allow James Cooks to run all over you. And so when you look at this football team and you look at this defense, it's hard to trust them. It really is hard to trust them. Um, but I give them a shot to at least make it to the divisional round because of Dak Prescott and this offense. I think that they're a really good team. I think they had again, this is like their first bad game in almost 2 months. You know, I mean, they can't play perfect all year long. I think they'll have a game like this every once in a while, and I think that that's what this game was. But this defense just is what's making me not confident, and for you is what's making you just like, no, they can't do anything. But as we kind of move on, let's stay in the NFC East because we're going to talk about the Philadelphia Eagles because they were their third straight struck Seattle Seahawks 20-17 with Drew Lock leading a 92 pass. And we've talked about this before. We've been talking about it all year long. I've been calling the Philadelphia Eagles frauds. But what do you think is going on in Philadelphia? Is Jalen Hurts the problem, or and here's kind of where I feel like a lot of people are like bashing on Jalen Hurts now. Um, he's a one-hit wonder, this and this and that. We crowned him too early, and I even posed that question to you and Savage on the group chat. But what is going on in Philadelphia?
For me, it's pretty simple. The coordinators that they got to replace Gannon and what was his name, Steichen,
Yeah, second.
are garbage. Like, we looked at even Brian Daboll leaving Josh Allen, what that did for him. He hasn't looked quite the same since that. Like, now he's starting to get on a roll now with a new offensive coordinator.
Yeah, Ken Dorsey
But
was bad for him.
yeah, and so we've seen what coordinators can be for certain players.
Mm-hmm.
And for me, I believe that's what's happened to Jalen Hurts. Their offense just looks stale, looks stagnant, doesn't change, is predictable. They don't do anything that wows or even confuses defenses.
Mm-hmm.
I believe that's the problem with Jalen Hurts is his OC. Defensively, I mean, the fact that they had to go to Matt Patricia to now call plays, effectively be the new defensive coordinator, that's
Mm-hmm.
already telling in and of itself. So
Yeah.
for me, I believe that they have major issues just coaching wise. It's coaching. It's coaching.
Mm-hmm.
It's pretty much that simple. Um, I don't think it's Jalen's fault now because I believe that there's been games that Jalen Hurts has won for them.
Mm-hmm.
Like, he just said, "Hey, I'm taking over. I'm gonna win these games," and he's done that.
Mm-hmm.
And so for me, you can't look at those type of moments where we were talking about MVP a couple weeks ago
Yeah.
of saying, "Hey, Jalen may not have the stats, but he has the moments."
Mm-hmm.
And we can't forget that weeks ago we were talking about if there's a guy that you want to put the ball in at the end of the game, it's going to be Jalen Hurts. We can't forget that we said that
Yeah.
based on what we've seen in the last 3 games. Has he played good in the last 3 games? No. Do I think it's his fault? I don't. I think his OC is terrible, and there's many Eagles fans, including our boy Steven, who's calling for his job because he's been atrocious for Jalen Hurts. And I know there's probably people who think you have to give it time. You have to, like, they're not going to gel right away. You can pretty much tell really quickly if an OC is the right fit for your quarterback. And it's
Mm-hmm.
evident that he's not. That's what I think is the problem in Philadelphia because I think is their defense really good? No. But these games have been close. They've been close. And if the offense is able to score like they once did, would we be talking about the defense in this manner? Probably not. So I think offensively, that's kind of what it for me is the overwhelming thing because you know how good they used to be. And you know that if they can score 30 points, you're in pretty good shape. Yeah, for me, that's kind of what I believe is the problem in Philadelphia right now. They can't score enough points to win the game.
Yeah, I think the only part I'll disagree with you is about their defense in playing in games that are close. I mean, I guess throughout the season, maybe.
Yeah,
Um,
well, let me give you an example. So, like, obviously, New York, the Jets game.
mhm.
Jalen Hurts played terrible, but I do
Mhm.
believe that there was moments in this season where we were just like, "Hey, if they run the ball,
Mhm.
they'll
They
be
win the
fine,"
game.
and
Mhm.
they refuse to do so. Same thing against, it's really hard to kind of like quantify this because they've won more than they've lost. And the games that
Mhm.
they lost to Dallas. They ran the ball well, but gave up on it. But there was, and ball carriers were turning the ball over like crazy.
Mhm.
Um, But and then San Francisco's going to do that to everyone. I believe they'll do the same thing to Baltimore, but that's another discussion for another time. Um, I just believe that more often than not, this offense just has been terrible. That's
Mhm.
my only thing. They're
Yep.
just not getting it done.
Well, so the reason why is I think this defense is worse than it was last year. I think this offense is clearly worse than it was last year. And here's the thing. I think this is where I'm objective. I think this is where I put my money where my mouth is. If I'm gonna say that, well, not all turnovers are created equal. And I'm not saying that Jalen Hurts has made the best decisions with the football, but it's hard to not look at his OC when talking about his interceptions, because that's what I did with Dak Prescott and Kellen Moore. Um, the reason why I say it's a little bit harder is because Jalen Hurts' interceptions are not coming off of tipped passes. Uh, it's not even coming off of uh, wrong routes that are run, but your OC is putting Jalen Hurts in position to where you're forcing Jalen Hurts to throw the ball up in the air and hoping that AJ Brown catches it, because that's what was your success last year and your success earlier in the game. Because again, there was a stretch to where AJ Brown was averaging over 150 yards a game,
Mhm.
and he was making these insane catches that had people saying AJ Brown should probably be the league MVP because of the way that he's playing. But now those plays aren't working for you right now. Now
Yeah.
those touchdowns are now turning into turnovers. And so, but I want to I'm gonna give Jalen Hurts the benefit of the doubt because I gave Dak Prescott the benefit of the doubt. So I'm not even gonna talk. He turning the ball all over this year at a high rate? Yes,
Yeah.
absolutely.
Yeah.
But to me, it would be hypocritical if I were to bash on Jalen Hurts when I didn't bash on Dak Prescott because I looked at his offense coordinator and I said, "You're the problem."
Yeah.
They're quarantining period. And that's a bigger issue than Jalen Hurts. Now, some fans, Jalen Hurts to be like, you got to play better ball, but we paid you all this money. Absolutely agree for sure. But you got him for years to come. If this continues to be a trend heading into next year, then I'll be like, okay, you guys are all right. But because the OC and the ECs are this year, I just do that. And for Philly, though, Philly's in trouble overall as a team.
Mhm.
I'm now with Savage because of the way that things have played out. I wish that Philly was a number. The Philly number one seed, we've been having low, and but with them as a number two seed, they'll have to play the seventh seed.
Yeah.
And currently, right now, I think that's the Rams. If I'm wrong,
let me
correct me.
yeah, let me pull up the playoff picture. So yeah, so are you talking about the second seed?
Yeah, because Philly will probably be the
It's
second seed
the
because
Rams. It'll be the Rams.
so so if the Rams continue to play and they hang on to that 7th seed, I think the Rams beat Philly in Philly because 'cause I'm not confident in this team. I think I think that the Rams will beat Philly in Philly if that's the game. Now, what that will probably mean is that the Cowboys will probably have to play. Well, okay, who so Detroit's the 3rd seed, who's the 6th seed?
The Vikings. So they'll play the 3rd seed, which right now currently is the Lions.
Yeah, I think Detroit's winning that game.
Mhm. Yep.
So, then I think that the Cowboys will beat Tampa. So you'll have the 2nd seed, 3rd seed, 5th seed, 7th seed. That means that the 49ers will play the Rams. We will play Detroit in Detroit. I give us it depends on how the regular season game goes, but I give us a shot to win that game, and to possibly make it to the NFC Championship game still. But I think Philly themselves, the way that they've played the last 3 weeks, and honestly, how they played all year long, they haven't blown anybody out. They haven't beaten anybody. Even if we look at the Miami game, which is probably their best win, if 1 or 2 plays go differently, I don't think I don't think that's a dominant win for them. They didn't beat Miami down to submission. They've survived and outlasted Miami. And so I think Philly, they have bigger problems than Jalen Hurts. It's their coordinators.
Yep.
It's like you said, it's coaching.
Yep.
I don't think that changes this season. And I don't think that they get past the wild card round, in my opinion.
Okay.
But talking about a team that is dominating, is winning, that is undoubtedly the top under San Francisco 49ers. With Dak Prescott and Jalen Hurts struggling this past week in losses and Brock Purdy balling, Daniel, my question to you, is it now time to have Brock Purdy as your front runner for league MVP?
Yes. Because of the history of this award. By default, because it is turned into, like Savage said last week, it has turned into the quarterback award. It just has been. They're not gonna value a running back or a wide receiver over a quarterback. That's just how the league works. Now, I think I'm safe to say that Savage doesn't believe that Brock Purdy's elite or a top 5 quarterback in this league. I think I'm right to say that that would be his opinion, right? But I think that this award is not a longevity award. It is a temporary award. And listening to First Take earlier this week, Shannon Sharp said that you can win the award and not be elite. Because you have to be elite for a year. Just 1 year.
Mm.
And I believe Brock Purdy has been that for a year. He leads the NFL in every statistical category that you can lead. He leads the league in passing while being 32nd in pass attempts. And I don't want anyone to talk about yards after catch because when Aaron Rodgers won the MVP, when Patrick Mahomes won MVP, they had higher yards after catch averages than Brock Purdy this year. So I don't want to hear about Deebo Samuel, Christian McCaffrey, running the ball because historically that's always been the case. So do I think he should win the MVP? No, I don't, because like Savage said, I don't think he's the most valuable player on his team. Christian McCaffrey is running away with the rushing title by 300 yards right now.
Mm-hmm.
And he's one of his best pass catchers on his offense. But but I have to base this opinion off of what the award has been.
Mm-hmm.
It's been a quarterback award. Tyreek missing 1 game last week probably cost him the MVP. Unless
he balls out.
He balls out for the rest of the year, because then you can say, look what happened when he missed a game.
Mm-hmm.
Look what happened when he missed half of a game the week before.
Yeah.
So if he can do that, then I mean, we're already having the three of us already having the conversation that Tyreek should be an MVP candidate and a highly considered MVP candidate.
Mm-hmm.
But because of the way the award has always been voted, it's going to be tough. So I think by default, unfortunately, Brock Purdy, and I like Brock Purdy, I do.
Mm-hmm.
But do I feel like he's played like MVP? Yes. but I feel like that's gonna put him in a stratosphere that I don't think he's ready for yet. And so, but at this point, he has been because of how he's played. It that's just a scenario that we're working with right now.
Yeah, I think I'm with Savage in the case. I don't know if there's 18 quarterbacks who could do what Brock Purdy is doing right now in terms of leading the league in passing, leading the league in touchdowns, leading the league in touchdown to reception ratio. Like, I don't know if every single quarterback could do that. At least the top echelon quarterbacks, I think, could. But we're basing it off of what is actually happening, not what could possibly happen. And we have to
Mhm.
give Brock Purdy his flowers. Like, no other quarterback that San Francisco has ever had under Kyle Shanahan has good plan. Most of the weapons he does. Purdy can't control who's on his team. Is he blessed to have Christian McCaffrey, Deebo Samuel, Trent Williams, Brandon Ayuk, George Kittle? Absolutely, he is. But not every quarterback that's been in that system has played the way that Brock Purdy has. And so I think that is credit to him. However, when we're talking about league MVP, I I get that he is I get that this award is a quarterback award, best quarterback in the league award,
Yeah.
unfortunately. I'm gonna say though, I would say Christian McCaffrey should be the league MVP. I think he is on pace to have over 2,200 yards from the line of scrimmage,
Mhm.
over 25 touchdowns.
Yeah.
He even had a play against Arizona. This is how wide open he was. He caught the ball, fell down,
Still
got
got
back
up
up,
and ran it in.
kept running, and wasn't even touched. And so, I mean, Christian McCaffrey, since he's joined the San Francisco 49ers team, and when you look at Purdy, a two-game stretch against the Minnesota Vikings and the Cincinnati Bengals, and he did not play well when he was missing a receiver or an offensive lineman.
Mhm.
To me, if you're the league, about we see quarterbacks and we've seen decent quarterbacks struggle against like when they're missing a player or two. But he has cost them 2 games this year. He himself has cost them 2 games this year. And I think that's why I would give the nod to Christian McCaffrey because you literally can say without his weapons there, how does he do? And the answer is he doesn't play well. I think that's what people are missing in this conversation about Brock Purdy is the fact that it's not that he's not good. He is good. But when his players aren't there, every single time his players have been there, he hasn't played well. It's not like sometimes he doesn't play well or, sometimes he'll lose the game. It's like, no,
Yeah.
the 2 times that he hasn't had his players on the field, they've lost, and he's been the reason why. And
Yeah.
to me, that's why I think that he is an MVP candidate. Don't get me wrong. I think Brock Purdy is an MVP candidate.
Yeah.
But Christian McCaffrey should be above him because of the impact that he's had on Brock Purdy's career and
Yep.
how he's been playing this season.
Mhm.
However, I do think that Brock Purdy, I mean, he's the odds-on favorite right now.
Yeah.
If he were to win it,
I
I'm
think
with you. I don't know if that puts him in that elite category for me. And to me,
yeah.
that's why I have an issue with him having the MVP because we don't view him in that way. And an MVP award is what people use to distinguish elite status for the most part. I think Josh Allen is the exception to that rule. But even when people talk about Lamar Jackson, who I think is having a great year, even though he doesn't have the statistics to really back that up. But
Yeah.
if you watch the games, man, he's playing good football right now.
Yeah, and
So,
then you can easily make the argument that if Lamar Jackson isn't playing at the quarterback position in Baltimore, are they winning games?
Yeah. No, I last year, Lamar Jackson got hurt last year. We saw, um, he had them at such a
That's
far
right.
pace
Yep.
because of the amount of wins that he had, that even when he was out and they were losing, they still made it to the playoffs because he had them so far ahead in the standings.
Mhm.
So, we know that about Lamar Jackson. Could you say the same thing about Brock Purdy? Like,
I
if
just
Sam Darnold was playing, do they have as many, and that's what I was actually
Yeah.
having a conversation with a 49er fan on TikTok. We were going back and forth on Savage's post, because we were going back and forth in this, and he says, "Could they do this with Sam Darnold?" And I said, "I don't think they could." But
Mhm.
the award isn't, "Hey, could you play better than Sam Darnold?" The elite
Yeah.
is, "Are you the most valuable player in the NFL?" I don't think he is. I think he's
Mhm.
a really good player. I
Yeah.
think that he definitely has to be considered a top 10 at the very least, and you could make an argument for top 5, possibly. I doubt it, though. I think you probably have him in your top 10, though.
Yeah. Because
But
not every top 10 quarterback can win without weapons.
we're that
Um,
in Kansas City.
yeah, and so, like, you need weapons to win games and to be effective and to be elite. Um, and I think a lot of it is that people like, we talk about, are we crowning Jalen Hurts too early? Like,
Mhm,
this is also another one of those things. This kid is 23 years old,
mhm,
and so, like, as much as I like him, is he at that point in that stage of his career where he can overcome not having 2 really important pieces on his team? No, because he's young, and I
mhm,
think there's some generational players who are born with that,
mhm,
i.e. Patrick Mahomes.
mhm,
But there's a reason why this kid was drafted in the last pick in the draft. He's
mhm,
not Patrick Mahomes. And so, and now also like Tom eventually had to figure out how to do it without the weapons.
mhm.
Brock Purdy's gotta eventually figure out how to do that before we can call him elite, and I think that's fair for us to do, and I think
Yeah.
it's fair not to, you know, destroy him for having
Mhm,
good players because, hey, he's not generational. He's a
mhm,
good quarterback, but he's
mhm,
not ready to elevate his team without weapons yet. I don't think he is, and for that reason, that's why Savage didn't believe he should be in the MVP, why you don't believe he should be in the MVP, and for me,
mhm.
why I can't put them in that class yet because of the fact that he's just not ready.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah, I'm with you on that. I absolutely agree. I think that even classifying it being like, listen, like the only at some point in your career, before we can put you in that category of top 5 quarterback. Because to me, the difference between Patrick Mahomes and Brock Purdy is that is Patrick Mahomes struggling without his receivers? Yes. The thing about Patrick Mahomes, though, is that you're having a Kadarius Toney tipping passes to the other team,
Mhm.
MVS dropping game-winning touchdown passes. When Brock Purdy was on that 2-game stretch, receivers weren't tipping the ball in the air. They weren't dropping wide open passes. He was throwing it to the other team because he was inaccurate,
He was making the wrong reads.
making the wrong reads. And so to me, that's the difference between Patrick Mahomes when he's struggling with no weapons and Brock Purdy struggling with no
Yeah.
weapons. It's 2 different things.
Like, Patrick
And
Mahomes, he's just throwing it to the open guy, and unfortunately, they can't catch anything.
right, the game for Brock Purdy to play well is gonna be this upcoming game that we're gonna talk about right now. Baltimore to San Francisco, Christmas Day. It's gonna be one of the biggest games of the year. You have the 2 top teams in the NFC and in the AFC. It's in San Francisco. Daniel, you've already talked about it a little bit, so I'm gonna let you talk about it more before we go into pick 'em. But why do you have San Francisco dominating against Baltimore?
I think for me, I believe that they've been more consistent than the Baltimore Ravens. There's been some games this year where you looked at Baltimore when we were ready to be like, "Hey, they're here. They're the top of the
Mhm,
AFC." They have some games where they it leaves you scratching your head, like uh, week 3 versus Indianapolis,
mhm,
week 5 against the Pittsburgh Steelers. You even have like a loss to the Cleveland Browns.
mhm,
And we know that they've been struggling at the quarterback position. For me, it's not the fact that I don't believe in Baltimore because I do believe they're the best team out of the AFC. But if
mhm,
I'm looking at what San Francisco is,
mm,
they're just the best football team in football right now. I think this will
mm.
be a major test for both of these teams.
Right, right.
But if you're asking me who I trust more in this game,
Mm,
it's gonna be the San Francisco 49ers. And the same thing with the 49ers, like, they've dominated for the most part, but you look at against Cleveland, I can make the case or I can't make it. It is what it is.
in fact,
Brock
they
Purdy put
won that
Brock
game.
Purdy put them in position to win that game. The kicker makes that kick, they win the
They
football game.
Mhm,
I can say Minnesota, that's an anomaly. That's like the one bad game that Brock Purdy had, you know, like, really bad like, well, you said 2 games that he was responsible for being bad. For me, against Cincinnati, I think Cincinnati's a good football team because they got a healthy Joe Burrow back. That
mm,
was a huge test for them. They lost that game, um, and you can see what they're doing even with Jake Browning, what they're able to do,
mhm,
you know, that's shown signs of a good football team, so that was a good test for them. But, they've just been more consistent ever since that loss, 34-3 against Jacksonville, 27-14 against Tampa, 31-13 against Seattle, 42-19 against Philly, 28-16 against Seattle, and they just bull rushed Arizona last week. So right now they're playing the best stretch of
mm,
football at the best time of the year.
mhm.
As much as I love Baltimore and I believe they'll be in the AFC title game this year, San Francisco's on a roll, and for me,
Mhm.
it's hard for me to pick Baltimore over them right now.
I'm with you 100%. I think even when we look at every game losing streak, I was over 2 months ago.
Yeah.
They've been 6-game winning streak since then, they dominating. It hasn't even been to San Francisco Super Bowl to lose. They should win the Super Bowl this year because they've obviously have the best roster in the NFL, and they're all playing lights out with great coaches and great coordinators. Kyle Shanahan this season has the opportunity to change and rewrite his legacy of not being able to win the big game. This is the year that he can do that. I think when you're talking about Baltimore, they've been really, really inconsistent. Even offensively, they just lost another running back for the season.
Yeah.
And so, like, and
Yeah, they've got injuries.
you're comparing like rosters, you're comparing teams inside of the balls. It shouldn't even be a close game. I
Mhm,
do think Baltimore is the best team in the AFC, but they're not even better. They're not even close to being good as San
mhm.
Francisco. A great quarterback, great offense, and an even better defense. Um, but I'm excited for this game.
Yeah,
Because I think Baltimore has a lot to prove, and I think for Brock Purdy, I think that if Brock Purdy balls out and plays well in this game, he he will be the league MVP if he
yeah,
wins this game. Like,
yeah. If he
hands
plays
down.
really well against this team, it's because you look at who Brock Purdy has played, who Brock Purdy has beaten, and he's been, you know he beat, Jacksonville, they're a pretty alright team,
Mhm,
defensively. He had a chance to win the game against Cleveland, that's been the best defense in football. Say what you will about Dallas, but Dallas has been ranked as a top defense in football, and he put 42 on them. Same thing
mhm,
with the Eagles. Like, he's played well against almost every team he's been up against. Even in games that he's lost the games, he's thrown for over 356 yards. Like, he's put up stats against these teams. And so I think if he can do this against Baltimore,
Yeah.
it may be a wrap unless, like, it's very evident, hey, Christian McCaffrey just was the reason why he played so well in that game. If
Mhm.
he's running the ball really well, if he's getting open, you know, but yeah, you're right.
Yeah.
It's a big important game for Brock Purdy in the MVP discussion.
Yeah, again, the thing is that and I hate doing this, but I think Brock Purdy has to play well
Yep.
even when e like, if C-Mac doesn't play well. Like, if they're stuffing
Yeah.
him,
Oh, yeah.
you're
Yeah, yeah, yeah. For sure.
I to me, if Brock Purdy does that, he shows me a little bit of something, for sure, because I think the narrative that he can't throw tight window passes is just not true. He doesn't have to do it a lot, but he's able to do that. He's capable of making those kinds of throws, and I expect him to make those kinds of throws against Baltimore because I don't think Baltimore is going to just roll over,
Yeah.
um, and just give them wide open passes. He's gonna have to be on target. He's gonna have to be very, very accurate against this Baltimore team.
I agree.
But let's get into pick'em for this week. Um, Daniel was 11-5. I was 9-7 this week. So Daniel now has a 4-game lead on me with 3 weeks left to go through. Hopefully, I can catch up this upcoming week. Probably
Mhm.
not though, because I feel like these games are pretty simple. We're going to start with Thursday night. We're going to go New Orleans traveling to Los Angeles to play the Rams. I'm going to have the Rams in this game. They're
Yeah.
rolling. I would say that the Saints are just very inconsistent. I don't trust them. They're gonna have to prove something to me before I ever pick them on a pick them, and let not even if they're playing Chicago or Carolina. You just never
Yeah.
know.
Yeah, I'm with you. I'm gonna take the Rams. Um, yeah, for me, it's been real simple. Like, the Rams have been playing really well. New Orleans, they did win against the Giants, but come on, it's the Giants at this point. So
And they played them at home. So,
yeah,
all right, next game is going to be Cincinnati versus Pittsburgh. I'm going to go with Cincinnati. I think Browning is playing really, really well right now, and I think Pittsburgh's just struggling without Pickett.
yeah, I'm with you. I'm gonna take the Cincinnati Bengals. I like Browning actually. He's proving a
Mhm.
lot, proving a whole lot.
Next, you have Buffalo versus Chargers. I'm going to go with Buffalo. Chargers. I think it's and he said, "No, I don't want the head coaching job right now
Mhm.
because it's gonna ruin my coaching stock." So,
Yeah.
I thought that that was funny, but I'm gonna go Buffalo. They're rolling right now.
Yeah, I'm gonna go with Buffalo too. They've been playing really great football the past couple weeks.
All right, next game, Indianapolis versus Atlanta. Indy, I'm going with Indy. This is easy. I don't even have to talk about it. Ritter is just not that guy. He's a turnover machine, makes
Yeah.
boneheaded plays. Lost to Carolina last week.
Yeah.
So, I'm gonna go with Indy.
I'm going with Indy as well.
Next, Green Bay versus Carolina. Green Bay, they've struggled the last couple of weeks, but they're better than Carolina.
Yep.
So I'm going to go with Green Bay.
I'm gonna go with Green Bay as well. I mean, you play a Giants team away. There was also, like, wasn't that the game where there was, like, some controversy that happened towards the end of that football game? So,
Mhm.
you know, I'm gonna stick with Green Bay. It's not really a hard decision.
Yeah. Next game is Cleveland versus Houston. CJ Stroud is most likely going to be out again.
Yeah.
So I'm going to go with Cleveland.
Mhm.
Um, they almost lost to Chicago.
But guess what happened? Guess what happened, though?
Joe Flacco.
Joe Flacco happened. We've been
Mm.
saying it. We were so right. And
Mhm.
it's just sad that Savage is not here for us to just rub it in his face and how great Joe Flacco did towards the end of the game. Not saying
Mhm.
that he's gonna do that every week, I kid, but
I mean,
but
the only
that
reason
finished.
why he did it was because it was Chicago. I don't think
Yeah,
he could have done that against
yeah,
a
yeah,
good
yeah, yeah, for sure. But it was really cool to see that. My coworker at my job, he's a Browns fan, and so we were talking
team.
about it. It's like, Joe Flacco, man.
Yeah. Next game is Detroit versus Minnesota. I'm gonna go with Detroit.
Yeah, I'm gonna go with Detroit as well. I mean, like, they're playing Nick Mullins, and Nick Mullins is good, um,
Mhm.
but I
He's not
still
better
have
than
more
Jared Goff.
faith in Detroit right now.
Mhm. Then we have Washington versus the Jets. I'm gonna go with Washington in this game.
I'm gonna go with Washington as well. Like, you never know what Jets team that you're gonna get. If it's
Mhm.
it the team that plays unbelievably well, or is it the team that reverts to the bottom of the basement? With news that Aaron Rodgers is officially done for the year, he won't be clear for another 3 to 4 weeks. I think just, like, team morale-wise, that's probably not good for them that he announced that, but
Yeah.
yeah, so I think that's gonna have something to do with the game.
Yeah, yeah, for sure. Next game is Seattle versus Tennessee. To me, that's pretty easy. I'm gonna go with Seattle.
Yep,
Coming off of a win
big
against
win,
Philly
big
with
win.
Drew Lock at quarterback.
Mhm. Yeah, I'm
Uh,
with it.
so next game is Jacksonville versus Tampa Bay. I'm gonna give credit to Baker Mayfield. He played
Mhm.
well against Green Bay, but at the same time, it was Green Bay. I don't trust Jacksonville either, but I trust them more than Tampa Bay based solely on consistency. Even though Baker has been playing good ball over the last couple of games, I'm still going to go with Jacksonville because these are the games that Jacksonville can't lose if they want to be taken seriously.
Yeah. Um, this one's tough because, like, I've not been impressed by what Jacksonville has been doing. They've just looked really, really bad. They've just looked really bad. They lost a pretty terrible game against Baltimore, like, it is Baltimore. Ooh. You know what? I have a 4-game lead. I'm gonna take Tampa. I have a 4-game lead. I'll take it. I think I lost your audio.
Okay, what about now? Can you hear me now?
Oh, no, I got it. Yeah, I got it.
Okay, so Justin Fields has been playing good ball over the last couple of
Mhm.
weeks. Even last week, we saw just a dropped pass, a perfect throw to him that was just absolutely dropped by his tight end. Go with Chicago game because Carolina's so bad. Um, I'm gonna go Chicago.
I'm gonna go Chicago as well. I think they're just playing really, really well right now, and I think that big win against Detroit
Mhm.
was great for them.
Yeah. Next game is New England versus Denver. I'm not a fan of Sean Payton right now. I think I've realized that I just don't like Sean Payton as a coach. I
Yeah,
really didn't appreciate him chewing out Russell Wilson
yeah,
on the sideline, especially when you made the bonehead decision and not challenging in any of those possessions down at the goal line.
yeah,
Um,
dumb.
I'm just not with I'm with him. I'm not with him on this. Russell Wilson is one of my favorite quarterbacks, so I guess you can call me a little bit biased for this, and I'll be perfectly okay if you say that. But you, as a football coach, you can't do that. The
Mhm.
leader of your team, you can't do that. And so, uh, but I'm going to choose Denver to win this game. New England's not good. I think Bill Belichick's going to be done at the end of the season.
Yep.
Um, so I'm going to go Denver.
I'm gonna go Denver as well.
Next game is the Raiders versus Kansas City. Uh, Kansas win this game. I don't think it's going to be pretty. It never is anymore.
Yeah.
But
No, and you look what happened the last time these 2 teams play, like, the Raiders jumped out to a really good start, and then it was
mhm,
just like a steamroller right after that, and so I
mhm.
think more of the same will happen this game.
Then you have the Giants playing the Eagles. I'm tempted to pick the Giants because Philly's just playing really bad.
Mhm.
They're Philadelphia. So I don't see Philly dropping game. I'm gonna pick Philly.
Yeah, I'm gonna pick Philly too. I'm not choosing them. I think they'll split one of these games with them,
Mhm.
but it won't be at home. I don't think it will be
Right.
at home. And like
Mhm.
you said, I don't think they wanna lose 4 straight games. I don't think they want
Mhm.
that. So I think they'll pull this one out.
Then you have Baltimore versus San Francisco. I think we both explained why we would choose San Francisco in this game, so
Mhm.
that's what we're going with. And then our final matchup is the Cowboys versus Miami. I'm gonna go Miami.
I was gonna go Miami as well.
This defense terrifies me.
Yep.
Um, I think Dak is gonna play well, but I
Mhm.
don't think it's gonna be enough for the onslaught that is about to come at the
I
hands
agree.
of Tua
I
and
agree.
Tyreek, Mostert. Like, it's not gonna be enough.
Yeah,
Say Cooper Rush starts playing in the 4th quarter.
I agree. I don't this defense just lost my complete trust, and
Mhm.
so I think Miami's gonna have a field day, both with Tyreek and with Mostert. It's gonna be a rout.
Mhm. The Cowboys, prove us wrong. Prove us
Do
wrong.
it.
Show us
I would
something.
love for you to prove me wrong. I would love for that to happen. I don't think you will though,
Mm,
because I don't believe in you guys anymore.
mm. And on that very somber, cynical note,
Yeah.
that concludes another episode of Double Take an Infall podcast. Thank you so much for joining us. Have a great weekend of watching football. So for Daniel, this is David for the show. God bless.
Yeah, you better show up, Micah. Show up.